Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Michi Makes Up. Today I'm going to take Lisa Eldridge's Cinnabar Eyeshadow Palette and we're going to go through a curated selection of other eyeshadow palettes in my collection and compare it against this palette. We're going to see if we're going to run into dupes or very similar shades, or maybe just have an entire palette that is very, very similar to Cinnabar. This is what I have curated for my collection, and there's quite a bit here, so that is why this video is only dedicated to Cinnabar. I think we're going to fit in the other two Lisa Eldridge palettes that I picked up, which is Vega and Sorcery. We're going to be here for a long time again. So we're going to focus on one, and then I will get to the other two palettes in another video. And I already know for those other palettes, for the other two, I don't have as many that are potential dupes for comparison. So let's focus on one for now. I think the first one that initially caught my eye, and I apologize, I forgot who had commented, and I try to look through the video to see the name, but if you're watching this video, please let me know below that you're the one who mentioned to me that you thought the Cinnabar palette looks similar to Natasha Denona's mini nude palette. Please let me know. I had looked through the comments and I had just forgotten. Your comment inspired me to take this palette out and do some comparisons. So let me first swatch the entire Cinnabar palette, and then I'll do what we might think is similar from the other palettes onto the arm, and we'll just take a look that way. If you are looking for a review video and a demo of this palette, I do have that, and I will put a link above and below as well, so you can go check it out. But this is just going to be straight comparisons, and we'll see what we end up with. Now, holding these two up side by side like this, this palette in general overall is cooler than Lisa Eldridge's, but we can still swatch a couple of shades to see where, this shade here stands out. I'm very curious about this shade here. This one is a bit more red leaning brown, but let's go ahead and swatch that anyway. So let's take these two shades and see. So this is Bronze Age and Soil. When comparing this Bronze Age to Lisa Eldridge's Bronzite right here, I would say this is redder, more red leaning. And they're both pretty warm, but because you got some more red here, I would say this is even warmer than Bronze Age. And also with Natasha Denona's metallics, she's just known to have very bright, glistening, shimmering metallics, and you do see it here. This intensity is much, well, I shouldn't say much more, but it is like a degree more than Lisa Eldridge. So that's something to note too, is the Lisa Eldridge eyeshadow palettes, depending on the color story, and generally even the metallics, they don't have the same level of pop that a Natasha Denona palette does, or Pat McGrath, or indie brands. And I think it just has to do with the style, the aesthetic of the brand. It's just a bit softer. It's trending towards luxury makeup like Dior, Chanel. I would compare those in terms of brand aesthetic more closely to Lisa Eldridge, like the Dior, Chanel, etc., than I would those other brands like Natasha Denona, indie brands, and even Pat McGrath. Moving on to the next palette is going to be from Viseart. This is the Petite Fool palette Chocolat, and let me hold up Lisa Eldridge here. The two shades I'm going to swatch are going to be these two, and I already know it's a bit more red than the Lisa Eldridge palette, and let's take a look if that's true. I would say the tones are actually similar. Lisa Eldridge is actually redder, but the shimmer this gives off is probably the main difference. This has an overall glitter to it, and in comparison, this is kind of a little bit more subdued in comparison, and even just a touch more foil-like, like a subdued foil glisten, and this is like shinier, sparkly. As for the matte, this is redder than anything we have from Lisa Eldridge. Moving on to a different brand here, I do want to take a look at a Suku palette called, it is 104, so it's a limited edition seasonal palette, and it's called Tasogare Zome. And I'm curious about these two shades. I do think this is going to be definitely more red leaning and not copper or bronzy. However, this is going to be interesting to see. Yes, definitely much redder, but not totally different from Cinnabar. It's reminiscent of this shade here. With the Suku aesthetic, it is actually even a bit softer than Lisa Eldridge. This shade, while it's metallic and shimmery, it's like a level more subdued than the metallics on that palette. This is a matte shade from Tasogare Zome. Ooh, super soft, the shade. I would say it is also, the tones are redder than what it is found here, but not without similarities. You know, these are all kind of on the same vibe, like bronzy, coppery, red-leaning undertones. Next, we're going to head back into Natasha Denona territory here. I have the two Glam Face and Eye palettes. This is light and this is dark. Dark is, I want to say 50% off right now on Sephora, part of the Black Friday Cyber Monday deal. So if this video goes up, well, I will post a link to Sephora anyway, so if you are interested in this, I also have a dedicated video, but it is on sale if you're interested. And it's not so much the metallic shades I'm interested in comparing from these palettes, it's actually the matte shades. So from the light palette, I want to take the crease shade, and then from the dark palette, smoke, so this crease shade here can be used interchangeably with this from Cinnabar, and I think this is called Deep Ochre, and I would say it's interchangeable. This shade here, the smoke shade, is similar in tone to Fired Earth. However, it is much more intense, and I went in with about the same strength to do the swatches as I did up here, so you get a lot more, like it's very packed and intense. I think it really has to do with the Natasha Denona aesthetic versus Lisa Eldridge. Let me see here, I've got one more Natasha Denona palette. It's going to be the Bronze Eyeshadow Palette from her. I want to see how this shade here, High Degree, and True Copper, plus maybe just for fun, let's see Gloaming, how these three might compare. These are the three shades, and I'm going to swatch on the side because I'm running out of room here. First we have High Degree. And then we have True Copper. Gosh, this intensity. And then Gloaming. If I were to use the bronze palette to create this look that I have, which is from Cinnabar, I'm gonna be able to do it. The tones won't be exactly the same because they don't have the same kind of brown mattes on here. All the mattes you see are very red leaning, but it's going to be similar enough. Probably the intensity will be a bit more because the Lisa Eldridge, again, the aesthetic, her aesthetic is going to be softer, lighter in intensity than Natasha Denona, but I probably can dupe the look using this palette. All right, we are down to the last comparison, and it's going to be Viseart. This is Minset, a Tondu Minset, a very, very warm palette. I want to say after the bronze palette, this is the next warmest palette that I have. I might have a Burberry one that's really warm too, but this is going to be, I don't know, vying for the second or third spot there. We're going to take a look at some of the mattes. This matte here, and compare against this one, and we'll compare against this one too, so 3. I definitely see some similarities in this matte shade to this here. A touch cooler, a touch lighter, a touch cooler, but interchangeable. And then this coppery shade is similar in tone to actually both of these. It might be an in-between of the two. So my final verdict with these comparisons is that with Natasha Denona's bronze palette or Viseart's Minset, I'm going to be able to replicate this look. And I honestly don't mind getting similar color stories from different brands. What I try to avoid is getting 2 similar color stories from the same brand. So I really don't mind that I have Cinnabar, and it's kind of similar to these other palettes that I have. Being that I review makeup, it's going to happen much more often, this overlap. However, if you're really truly looking for something different from the Lisa Eldridge collection, I would look towards Vega, the very cool tone palette, or Sorcery, the one that everybody has had their eye on. Sorcery is currently sold out, but it is a beautiful metallic palette, and Vega is just the cool tone. I haven't seen a lot of color stories that are too similar from luxury brands in the past 16 to 18 months, so I think that one really stands out. And then what I've realized from this exercise is I have a lot of Natasha Denona palettes that are kind of similar, so I know going forward that I'm gonna hold off if I see another kind of nude tone, but maybe a touch like coppery, bronzy type color story. And for the last comparison, which is not going to be against an eyeshadow palette, it's actually one of Lisa Eldridge's eye products. It's from her Liquid Lyrics eyeshadow line in the shade Diana. And this came about from Corinne, who left a comment in my other Lisa Eldridge eyeshadow video. She was wondering how closely Bronzite resembles to Diana. And we're gonna check, we're gonna see. I'm just gonna do a swatch here. And I will diffuse it. So you can see as the light hits it and it's reflecting. This has a molten golden tone to it as it's reflecting. And this is actually cooler in comparison. It has the gold flecks too, but the texture is completely different. And I would say the tone is different as well. So Corinne, if you're wondering if you have Diana, do you need this palette? I'm gonna say the two are really different, the way that you could use it to build a look. This could be very much a one and done shadow, but if you purchase an eyeshadow palette, you can play around, get different looks with it. If again, you're looking for just something different altogether, I would look towards the other color stories from the collection and perhaps avoid Cinnabar. Let me know if you have further questions below on how these two compare, and if you guys can think of any other eyeshadows that you might think are going to be similar to Cinnabar, let me know. And if I have it in my collection, I'll take it out and I'll include it at some point, either in the community tab or in the next Lisa Eldridge eyeshadow comparison video. Thank you guys for watching. See you very soon in the next one. Take care.